Revenge films.
My name's Ryan. I'm 26 years old, and after leaving the consulting firm I used to work at, I started my own company and now serve as its CEO. Lately, life's been pretty smooth. I've got a great girlfriend and things are going well both personally and professionally. But it wasn't always this peaceful. Not too long ago, I was dealing with a serious issue. My ex-girlfriend Jessica wouldn't leave me alone. We met at a local bar I used to frequent and started dating when I was 24. At first, I was drawn to her sweet and quirky personality. She seemed adorably scatterbrained in a way that was kind of charming. But as time went on, I started to realize she wasn't just quirky, she had a lot of emotional instability. Jessica had this dramatic, overly clingy side that I just couldn't ignore. She'd say and do things that no reasonable person would ever think to say. One day, after a long stretch of overtime at work, I came home exhausted and found her crouched outside my apartment crying. When I asked her what was wrong, she blurted out,
"I missed you! Don't I matter to you anymore?"
At the time, I was still an employee, grinding hard and dreaming of one day starting my own business. So having someone emotionally dragging me down like that, it honestly just felt suffocating. I tried calming her down and explaining how important my work was to me, hoping she'd understand. But no matter how I tried to reason with her, Jessica just wasn't having it. She refused to listen. Eventually, she got all worked up and shouted,
"What's more important, me or your job?"
That was a huge red flag. It was such a childish thing to say, and in that moment, I realized that there's no way I can keep dating someone like this. After about 3 months of dating, I decided it was time to break up. I asked her to meet me at the usual bar after work, and once we sat down, I looked her in the eye and said, "I'm sorry, but I think we should break up." The reaction was intense. She burst into tears, sobbing so hard she could barely breathe, and started hyperventilating. It caused a huge scene. Customers and staff started getting involved. Once she finally calmed down a little, she clung to me and begged,
"Please, don't leave me!"
I figured if I kept pushing the breakup right then, the situation would only spiral more, and I didn't want to drag innocent people into our drama. So reluctantly, I decided to hold off on ending things that night. After that night at the bar, Jessica started acting like nothing had ever happened. She treated me just the same as if the whole dramatic scene never took place. But in my mind, I had already made my decision that I was going to break up with her as soon as I found the right moment. I tried to keep things calm so her unstable side wouldn't flare up again, and I kept watching for a safe opportunity to end things. But ironically, I didn't even need to make the move. She beat me to it. One evening, after work, I stepped out of the office as usual, only to find Jessica waiting outside. She walked up to me, looking a little awkward, and suddenly blurted out,
"I'm sorry, but let's break up."
I was stunned for a second. I hadn't expected her to initiate the breakup. But honestly, it felt like a golden opportunity, so I didn't hesitate and I said, "All right." Then, without me even asking, she launched into her reasons.
"I've met someone else. He's super rich and way more high spec than you,"
she said smugly, like she was proud of herself. At that point, I couldn't care less. "Cool. Well, I wish you the best," I replied, and we parted ways peacefully. Or so I thought. 6 months went by. I'd left my old company, gone independent, and used the network and clients I'd built up to launch a successful business. Things were finally taking off. One day, I went to a networking event for people in my industry. That's where I met her, a stunning woman who immediately caught my eye. It was love at first sight. I made the first move, and we started dating soon after. She wasn't just beautiful, but she was grounded, smart, and supportive, both emotionally and professionally. After the disaster that was my relationship with Jessica, I knew I didn't want another clingy, emotionally unstable partner. I'd learned my lesson, or at least I thought I had. Then, one day, out of nowhere, Jessica started texting me again. Messages like,
I realized I can't live without you.
Began popping up on my phone. It was clear she wanted to get back together. Not wanting any drama, I ignored the texts completely. I figured if I just didn't respond, she'd eventually get the hint and give up. But of course, things didn't go that smoothly. One evening, I was leaving work and walking down the street with my girlfriend when someone suddenly grabbed my shoulder from behind. I turned around, and there she was, Jessica. She looked furious.
Who's this woman?
She snapped. She's my girlfriend, I said calmly. Then, eyes wide with disbelief, she shouted,
How could you have a girlfriend when I'm still here?
I didn't want my girlfriend to get the wrong idea, so I calmly explained to Jessica that we had broken up 6 months ago. That's when Jessica suddenly placed her hand over her stomach and said,
I'm pregnant.
Then, with a bright smile, she added,
Let's get married already. You can take care of me and our baby, okay? You're gonna be a daddy.
I couldn't help but blurt out, whose baby is it exactly? I wasn't even slightly shaken. It was obvious the baby wasn't mine. After all, it had been more than 6 months since Jessica and I had last slept together. Plus, her belly wasn't even showing. Not at all. Anyone could tell the timeline didn't add up. So I asked her, How far along are you? She stammered.
6 months? Maybe, 5? I don't know.
She was clearly scrambling for an answer. I pressed her. If you want to prove the baby's mine, show me your maternity record book. That's when she totally panicked.
Why don't you believe me? We were so in love. If I'd known you were actually going to succeed in your business, I never would have dumped you.
She lunged at me, grabbing my clothes. It looked like she was having a panic attack, but unlike before, I wasn't about to coddle her. I'd fallen for the same tricks too many times, so I wasn't going to fall for them again. Jessica started crying hysterically, completely losing it. The scene was so chaotic that my girlfriend, visibly shaken, called the police. By the time the officers arrived, a crowd had formed around us. Jessica was still sobbing uncontrollably as they helped her into the back of a patrol car to ask what was going on. Even in the car, she kept wailing, clearly overwhelming the officers. I was also questioned by the police, and I told them everything, nothing held back. I let them know that if she continued harassing me, I'd file a formal report. They relayed the warning to Jessica and gave her a serious caution. Realizing she was on the verge of being charged with stalking, Jessica finally calmed down. She stepped out of the patrol car, bowed her head, and apologized to me. The sudden shift in her attitude from full-blown meltdown to eerily calm left me wondering what on earth that whole performance had even been about. After that, I never heard from Jessica again, and peace finally returned to my life. According to rumors I heard from mutual acquaintances, it turns out she actually was pregnant. Apparently, the rich guy she left me for had completely tricked her, and he bolted the moment he found out she was expecting. So her plan was to pin the baby on me, get married, and raise the child together. But when that failed, she supposedly said she wanted to get an abortion, but only to find out she was already past the legal window. That sealed her fate as a single mother. Not confident in raising a child alone, she turned to dating apps, hoping to find a man willing to marry her. But every guy she met figured out she was pregnant and ended up rejecting her. Eventually, Jessica gave up on marriage and had no choice but to tell her parents everything. She moved back to her family home in the countryside to give birth. Her parents lived over 4 hours from Tokyo by bullet train, deep in a snowy region. Once she went back home, she never appeared in front of me again. Well, except for one text.
If you ever feel like getting back together, just come pick me up. I'll be waiting.
That message creeped me out, so I blocked her on the spot. Rumor has it her parents are extremely strict, and she's now raising the child as a single mom with little to no freedom. As for me, about a year into dating my current girlfriend, I proposed, and she said yes. After we got married, she became a full-time housewife to support my busy work life. She cooks delicious meals every day, takes care of all the housework flawlessly, and honestly, every time I look at her, I feel grateful I married her. If I had fallen for Jessica's scheme and ended up marrying her, I wouldn't have any of the happiness I have now. The very thought sends chills down my spine. From here on out, I'm determined to keep working hard, not just for myself, but for my strong and dependable wife, and build a happy life together as a married couple.
How was today's video? If you enjoyed it, please subscribe, like, and leave a comment. Stay tuned for more.